Live from Utah's first TV station, ABC4 News at 5 starts now.
And good evening once again. We continue to follow breaking news out of downtown Salt Lake City, where there are fires, vandalism, and continuing protests over the death of George Floyd. We have Jason Wynn live in downtown Salt Lake. Jason, what are you seeing right now?
Right now, turn around, we're seeing people break this bus station, break the glass right here at Liberty, right off of 200 East and 400 South. Sorry, we're trying to move around here. There's a crowd of at least 400 to 500 people. People are screaming obscenities, so we really do appreciate. Sorry about that, but you know, right behind us is a Salt Lake City police car that's been set on fire. There's more destruction. John, keep coming back here. Guys, this is probably the wildest thing I've ever seen. People are trying to destroy government property here, things that we use to travel around in Salt Lake City. They got done destroying the police car. They've been dancing, they've been singing, they've been knocking things down. You see people are using their skateboards. We have not seen any police down here, and we're a block away from the police station. People just keep swinging. I've seen people prepared with bottles of milk just in case there's tear gas that's happening. John, stay with us live on TV here. You can just see the destruction. We are trying to keep a safe distance right now, but there is a crew of agitators. For the most part, most people seem to be calm, and they've been fairly okay. John, please, we're continuing to step back here. I got you, but you can see people are all the way over there by the Planet Fitness over here. We're going to step down here. We'll let these people pass here. We are right on the track station. Turn around, John, so we can see what these people are about to do next. This group right over here to my left seems to be a pretty destructive group. They've been throwing things through windows. Looks like people are now marching towards the police station, and they're going to continue to terrorize and damage things right here off of the Liberty tracks train stop here. And this is just insane. There's been people passing out water, making sure people are staying hydrated. You can see a large group. This group of at least 200 people are now making their way to the police station here. I would definitely say Salt Lake City did say please avoid the metro area here downtown. This is why. This is a dangerous situation. I've been in several different arguments with people trying to prevent us from doing our job and documenting all of this. You can see the people are using skateboards to just be destructive, and this is supposedly all in trying to send a message in protest, but this is clearly not a protest. Somebody just got pushed over down over here. This is clearly not a protest. This is a riot of some sort, and I'm okay saying that because I've been a part of several of these, and this is probably the most destructive, especially in downtown Salt Lake City. This is so sad to see our beautiful city being destroyed just like this. We're trying to follow this group. You can see that they're continuing to damage things. Anything that they can pick up, they are trying to pick up and throw, but we are headed right over to the police station. Nick, I'm going to send this back to you. Like she said, this is all about and obscenities. Sorry, we're trying to stop that.
We apologize for the profanity, folks. What we can tell you is this is live TV. This is real life. This is a protest evolving into what you're seeing there. We have seen all over the country folks wanting murder charges against the Officer Chauvin. Certainly third-degree murder charges don't seem to be enough for a lot of folks who are very upset about what happened to George Floyd. Nicole Newman joining us live from Salt Lake. Nicole, that was an incredibly heated moment Jason just showed us. What are you seeing?
Well, Nick, things are continuing to unfold where we are right now. Just to kind of paint the scene, we are at 400 South and 200 East, ironically Rosa Parks Boulevard, and what we've witnessed in the last 10 minutes or so, if you guys can see these UTA tracks, bus stops right here, protesters have knocked the glass out of them. You see the vehicle that is still burning. It's basically smoldering at this point. There's chanting George Floyd's name, as well as saying no justice, no peace. Traffic has opened up in this area a little bit, but it's still backed up in this area. We did speak to some people who were waiting in traffic just a short while ago. Here's what they had to say.
And we apologize. We are on live television here. We'll get that interview to you in just a second. But the images that Jason Wynn showed us were absolutely striking. You saw protesters with skateboards smashing that tracks cubicle or whatever it's called. We saw a police vehicle on fire earlier today. There's vandalism at the state capitol. We know ABC4's Nicole Newman appears to be kitty corner from where Jason Wynn was. Again, all these protests over the death of George Floyd, the video that has been just shocking our entire nation. But the folks who say there is an incredibly important message are also the folks who say the looting and the rioting is not a positive way to enforce that message. We're taking a live look at what I believe to be 200 East and 400 South. I'm wondering if we have Nicole Newman now. Nicole Newman is on scene, but she is moving at this hour. It did not appear to be very safe where Jason and his photographer were. You heard Jason say, "I've got you, John." And I've been in those protests before. You're there to document the front lines, and folks don't even want you there. Nicole, have we got you? Go back. Nicole, we can hear you. We can hear the scene. What are you seeing right now?
Hey Nick, can you hear us? We're having a really hard time with the traffic and everything. The cell reception
I can hear
is really
you. Just
bad
go ahead.
in this area. But again, we are at 400 South and 200 East, and the crowd is getting a little bit rowdy. Within the last 10 minutes, they started using, it looks like signs and some other things to start knocking out the glass panels in these UTA track stops. Again, the vehicle, this is in the area right in front of the city library, where the vehicle has been burning for the last hour or so. I would say easily 1,000 people or so are out here, and they've started to move up the road away from the vehicle. You guys can see that there's still people holding signs and people right around the area where the vehicle is burning. However, they are starting to move up 400 South right now. That's really what we're seeing. I can say we haven't seen any acts of violence of people on people. We weren't here when the vehicle was initially overturned. We did talk to some protesters. They told us initially that it was a police vehicle, but we cannot confirm that right now. But again, within the last 10 minutes or so, we did witness protesters knocking out the glass panels of these UTA track bus stops right now. And again, they are starting to move up the block from 400 South. Nick?
If I can ask you, we see the images behind you. We saw the charred police vehicle. What are folks saying they are out there for? Are they telling you what the message is?
Basically, their message is that they want to be heard. They feel that, we've seen signs out here talking about former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick. We know it was back in 2015 when he took that knee and, he pushed it forward as a peaceful protest. People here saying that back then it was protesting police brutality and the killing of Alton Sterling, and now here we are 5 years later and it doesn't really seem that much has changed. So that's what they're protesting. They want to get that word out that they feel, that it can't be all lives matter until Black Lives Matter. And we talk to people in traffic. We've been talking to people from different backgrounds, Hispanic, white, as well as African American, and pretty much the message across the board is the same.
Okay, Nicole,
Nick?
Thank you very much. We're going to check back in with you in just a bit. We know ABC4's Jason Wynn continues his coverage. Jason, the last time we checked in with you, folks were shattering that tracks waiting area. What are you seeing now?
Right now, the group's heading towards the police department, Nick. There is another group that's right over here by the car. It's a lot calmer here, so I'm going to bring John over here with me as we walk over here down to the train tracks, because we believe right now UTA has stopped all traffic down through here. I'm going to pull my mask down a little bit so I can breathe, but take a look at that right there. That is a Salt Lake City police car that has been burning for hours. There's been people that have been trying to use that as some type of anger outlet, and if ever been to a smash room, that's pretty much what they're doing to this car. We haven't seen any Salt Lake City police officers. We believe that long as things don't get too out of control, that they're just letting things happen right now. But you know, there is a large, angry mob of people that are heading to the Salt Lake City Police Department right now, so they may be getting prepared for that. Now, here's some other things that we have seen here since we've been down here in Salt Lake City. We have seen people with medical gear, obviously preparing for some type of response from law enforcement. We have seen people holding milk, because milk is one of those things that if you are in tear gas, it will burn your eyes, and milk will help with some of that. So we've seen these types of medics come through. I got some people coming through here. This guy's got nunchucks. You don't see that every day down here in downtown Salt Lake City. This guy's filming me while we're here, obviously trying to take a selfie. Hi, how's it going? Thank you, man. So we're going to continue to walk this way, because this is where most of the action had happened earlier today. Now, see, as you can see here, there is still a large group of people that are trying to protest here, showing their signs. They've been taking, see this right here? A family is taking a picture right in front of the Salt Lake City burning police car. These are images you will never see. In my lifetime anyway, have not seen that. But over here through the actual UTA track station, you can see other media set up over there. Other people are trying to stay over there to be safe. This has been a highly active situation over here, but right here on the corner of 200 East and was it 100 South, right in between the library and the city hall is where people are pretty much gathering. And then the other location, sorry, my newsroom's calling me right now, but the other location is going to be down at the Salt Lake City Police Department. You can see that there's a group. If my photographer John can pan down here towards 300 East, you can see that there is a large group of people that are gathering right there in front of that new apartment complex building. So that is probably going to be an area where people are going to try to protect. Now there seems to be a larger group that seems to be moving over there. We're going to walk down there so that we can see what is happening right now. But for right now, Nick, I'm going to send this right back to you in the station while we start to regroup and figure out what is going on down here on the ground in downtown Salt Lake City. If you can, please avoid the area. I'm Jason Wynn, live in downtown, ABC4 News.
All right, Jason, thank you. Take a breath. It's quite the scene down there, and we know the adrenaline is pumping, and it certainly can feel dangerous when folks are smashing things and lighting cars next to you. All right, ABC4's Nicole Newman continues our team coverage from downtown Salt Lake. Nicole, what are you seeing and hearing? Looks like you've got someone to talk to here.
Well, Nick, a little while ago you asked about the message that people here, protesters as well as observers, what they wanted to get out. So we're out here talking to the people. I'm joined now by Janelle Johnson. And Janelle, can you talk to me about why you decided to come out today?
Yeah, I think most importantly for us is we just wanted to bear witness and be here in support of those who feel like their rights are being violated, they're not being heard, and that Black lives do matter.
Well, let me ask you this. You told me that you've been out here throughout the course of the day. When you see the events that are unfolding, what are your thoughts?
It's a lot of mixed emotions. I don't like to see the violence or the vandalism, and yet my heart goes out to them with compassion of understanding what it's like to be feeling like you're yelling into the void without being heard. So it's with mixed emotions. I'm proud of, so far it hasn't been terribly violent, so I'm proud of that for Salt Lake, but it's also mixed with a lot of heartache for what's going on nationally, globally, everything happening in the world right now. It's overwhelming.
Well, let me ask you that too, about that feeling of being overwhelmed when you are seeing what's happening across the nation and then seeing that this happened in Minneapolis, you know, and now we're here in Salt Lake City and you're seeing this unfold. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think it was only a matter of time. My husband and I went to bed last night just wondering what would unfold today, and I was not surprised to hear that there would be a protest and more happening, but it just slowly becomes closer to home, and it's easy to distance yourself when it's happening elsewhere, but when it's on your front door, you can't help but feel anxious about it and nervous, but also maybe hopeful that this could change something.
And in talking about change, how do you think we move this forward in getting from the point of just protesting to actual change?
I think what needs to happen is that these people need to be heard by local and national government to say that it does matter and that police brutality is unacceptable regardless, and let's find a solution to work together to make that happen.
Janelle, thank you so much for your time. Nick,
Yeah, you're welcome.
we are going to send it back to you.
And Nicole, I know you're in the middle of that interview, and I appreciate everything you're doing. Do you have any sense of whether this protest is going to continue into the night? I know this is organic, it happens as it happens, but we've seen all across the country the evolution of these protests from peaceful, and then as nighttime approaches, they can become more violent. Any sense of what's going to happen next here?
Do you have any idea what's going to happen next?
As far as I'm not for sure if I really understood all of the question. It is really so loud here. As far as what's going to happen next here, you know, this particular area, about 10-15 minutes or so ago, again, we are at 400 South and 200 East, right in front of the city library. If you guys can see the car that was burning is starting to smolder out. There were, I would say, easily about 1,000 people or so right in this area just a short while ago. And we did, again, see them. We witnessed them knocking out the glass panels of these UTA track stops. But within the last 10 minutes or so, the crowd seems to have moved up the street. Exactly where they have gone, I'm not sure yet, because, again, we are on 400 South and 200 East. But that's what's happening right here where we are.
Okay, Nicole,
Nick.
thank you so much. I know that you don't have a bird's eye view. You are on the front lines. We appreciate what you're telling us at this hour. Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall has just released a statement. Quote, "We are committed to intentionally addressing and dismantling the systemic oppression, discrimination, racism, and bigotry that exists in our city." As we continue to grapple with these issues nationwide, I want you to know we are here to work constructively with you, our residents. And again, that's Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall in a statement. As protests continue live in downtown Salt Lake, we understand ABC4's Jason Wynn is live, possibly in front of a 7-Eleven. Jason, we're hearing about some reports of looting.
Yes, Nick, we're right here off of 400 South and 300 East. Take a look right behind me here. There are some people that broke in. Now there's a guy named Ricky over here, and he's with this woman named Danielle. He's been trying to get people outside of the 7-Eleven because this looting, he says, is drowning their message here. But you can see there's people still inside there. They're grabbing whatever they can. They've already destroyed all the windows here. So sorry, man, we're live on TV right now. So we're showing. The cops are not around here, as this protester is trying to tell me here. We haven't seen a cop here in about the hour and a half, 2 hours that I've been down here. My photographer's been down here even longer. We are literally a block away from the police station and still no officer in sight. And you can see right behind me, there's still people going right into the 7-Eleven off of 300 East and 400 South. People are just looting, taking whatever they can. We have not seen any fire set in the store, but you can see the damage and the destruction that's happening right now. One of the guys that we were talking to that is over there, he's in that Motley Crue black shirt. His name was Ricky, and the woman that was with him, her name is Danielle. She is actually from Salt Lake City, and they say this is a message where they have to get things out because George Floyd was killed with an officer that had his knee on his neck for a long time right now. So they were sitting there and they were saying that this is part of that anger and that frustration that is coming out right now. But with that anger and frustration, nobody wants to see what's happening right over here. And as you just heard that man say, nobody wants to see anybody destroy any businesses. But as you have seen, we've seen UTA stops over here off of Liberty or the track station, just completely destroyed. People are using these skateboards to destroy this stuff. You see people just canvassing all over the downtown area. There's a lot of swear words, a lot of obscenity. So we have to warn you about that because it has been graffitied all over our beautiful downtown Salt Lake City area. And for the time being, you know, we're a block away from the police station. I'll just set the scene for you. There is about 200, 300 people down that way. Then you go down here on 400 South, all the way over here to 200 East over here, and there's another 200 people over that way. And then you come over here to this 7-Eleven right off of 300 East and 400 South, and there's looting it. No other businesses so far have we seen be destroyed. We don't know why the 7-Eleven was targeted, but that is what we're seeing down here. Now we're going to move over by the police station. We're going to try to get a safe area by the police station, and we're going to show you what's happening over there coming up in just a little bit. So Nick, I want to send this back over to you so we can get over into a safe location. I'm Jason Wynn, live in downtown Salt Lake City, ABC4 News.
Hey Jason, before you go real quick, can I just ask you, it looks like the crowd's dispersed a little bit. You mentioned they're headed toward the police station. Is there an energy on the street? Is there a feeling on the street? Earlier it just felt like such frenetic, just with the smashing of that UTA rest stop. What does it feel like to stand in front of that 7-Eleven right now as you're seeing folks kind of stand around, but also the possible
here's
looting
SWAT's coming. Here comes the response, folks. Nick, take a look. There's anger down here in the streets. Take a look at this. Here comes the SWAT teams. They are now coming down. Salt Lake City Police, we believe they're heading right towards their police station. John, let's go over there right now. Come on, stay with us on live TV right now. We're going to head over to the police station because this thing, oh no, they're going out. They're going even farther. They missed the police station, guys. But look at all this crowd over here. They're all running. They're all running. There's some things that are happening, Nick. We're going to send this back to you because there's some swear words happening. We'll talk to you here in a little bit.
All right, thank you, Jason. Stay safe. Nicole Newman has the SWAT team behind her. Nicole, what are you seeing?
Hey Nick, if you can hear us, happening right now, Salt Lake City PD Rescue is just arriving here on the scene, also with a unit from West Valley City. Now this is just in the area where this vehicle has been burning. You guys see it right here. Police officers starting to move some of the crowd. Sadly, a man was just knocked off his feet. Officer now helping him up. This is in the same area where, right in front of the city library.
Images are striking,
making sure
Nicole.
that this guy is okay right now.
Nicole, I'm not sure if you can hear me. Did they say anything to those people that one of them they just knocked over on the ground? Did they give them a warning, or did they just make contact?
Hey Nick, I only caught a little bit of what
Nicole,
what you said. I know you
it's
asked
tough.
about.
I know it's tough trying to hear each other. Did they give that guy any warning, or did they make contact with him? It's hard for us to tell if they were instructing him to move or not.
He's asking if you can hear calling.
You know, that I don't really know. We can't really hear out here because it's so loud, but if you guys can see, police officers now starting to form somewhat of a wall with their shields to keep protesters from moving up the block. I don't know where it looks like the guy who got knocked down, he's propped up right now. Some other protesters are checking on him. As far as I believe you asked if he was given a warning, again, I do not know. It looks like, I can't really tell whether or not right now if he's doing okay.
Nicole, if you could just stay with us, because this is an incredibly active situation as SWAT comes out. What does it appear are they blocking the police car that was incinerated, or where are they setting up? What kind of perimeter does it look like they're setting up here, as this is the first time we've seen Salt Lake City police in the streets?
Okay, I think you're asking me about them blocking. I'm going to step on the other side of the camera. Okay, so if you guys can see, over here on the other side, we have some people coming up 400 South, coming over to the area where this car has been smoldering. I think part of the attraction right now is the police officers out here starting to form this wall. Now earlier, I can say that this is the first time that I've seen a uniformed officer out here. And again, this is right in front of where the vehicle has been burning in front of the city library. And there are some more units that are pulling up. And if you guys can see, more officers are starting to come up the block.
Nicole, these images are
okay,
just incredible.
I got it. Let's go ahead and toss over to Jason with another view.
Yeah, Nicole, we're about 100 feet from where you are right now. We're right behind the police line. As you can see, West Valley City Police, we were just telling you about this a little bit ago, came over here. We've got some cars that are lining, but you can see this is a police line right here. This is the line where they're going to say no one goes past that line. That is, they have the choice to move that line forward and retake their car, or they stay right over here. And you can see they're all wearing their new protective police gear, and that is what they refer to this as. Most people would refer to this as riot gear. And right behind them are the armored trucks. You can see them from Salt Lake City, from West Valley City. Right down the street over here, there are more officers that are getting prepared to come over here, and this is where we are. We're right in between all of this right now, and more people, you can see, are just coming this way. Thousands of people are gathering right over here, and we see dozens of officers here. And again, they have the choice. Do they move forward and reclaim their car? That car that has been aimed at for so much frustration. They have taken their energy out right now. You can see this man asking one of these officers right now a lot of questions. That is something where it could agitate an officer, but from everything I've been told in all of my experience working around these police officers is that they have been prepared for this. I've been a part of trainings where they've had this happen, but this is real life. This is happening right now. You've seen bottles of water just thrown. There's another one thrown. And at some point, these officers have the choice to respond. Take a look. One of the officers right over here has a canister where he can throw either tear gas or rubber bullets, something along those lines over here. Right behind me, there's more action over here. John, follow me here over here. You can see officers are running over that way right now with a large group of people. This is going to be the Battle of Salt Lake right down here in the middle of downtown City Hall and the police station off of 400 South. You can see more people are taking out frustrations on these police cars down here. More bottles behind my photographer are being thrown. Right now, there's no rocks being thrown down in downtown Salt Lake City, but there is an obvious line being formed, and we don't know if these officers are going to take back their car or not. So we, Nick, are going to stay here because there's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration here. This is the first time we've seen police come back down here to try to regain some type of control. John, I got to tell you to turn around, take a look at this. These officers are now retreating back behind their cars because the crowd is approaching. There goes some more destruction. There's a guy trying to swing his bat on an officer right now. Look at the destruction on these cars. More officers need to be coming. There's more officers coming now. John, come up here on the UTA track stop. Look at this. They're angry. The anger from this young generation destroying police vehicles over here. More officers are now running over here. So here they come with their gear. You can see this is just intensifying. Here come smoke bombs. We're gonna put our mask on here now. There's obviously some. Oh, here comes the attack on the officer. This is one of the young men who've been jumping on top of a vehicle earlier today. We have footage of him, but you can see he just assaulted a Salt Lake City police officer. Now we've got some other people behind us. We're trying to stay safe right now. There goes a window and some food. This is just getting intense here, guys, and we are trying to stay safe. My photographer is going to show you the front of, show you everything that's happening. We are going to, now the crowd's running, what's happening? Sorry guys, this is just intense. We don't know why they're running, but we can tell you that they're going towards the police station right now. And there's some people getting moved right there. So we are seeing this just go awry here in downtown Salt Lake City. Nick, I'm gonna send this back to you right now.
An unprecedented day on the streets of Salt Lake City. We understand the symbolism of that police car in Minneapolis where they burned down the 3rd precinct there. Certainly a lot going on. It's hard to look at that and not feel sad. An unenviable thing to be in those police officers' shoes. Obviously the video of what happened with George Floyd is a horrible tragedy. But to be those police officers showing, at least right there, that restraint as the man swung a skateboard at him, it's a dynamic scene. ABC4's Nicole Newman is live for us now. Nicole, we just saw really dramatic footage from Jason. It sounds like something's going on behind you. What's going on?
Hi, Nick. Well, some tense moments starting to unfold here. Just a short while ago, there were officers on two different sides here, and we saw them run up the block to something that was happening over there. We do know that we've been seeing people throw items at the officers here that are standing on guard. A lot of people yelling, yelling that they can't breathe. We know that that's the same thing that George Floyd said when he was in police custody. Again, right now it seems like things are starting to simmer down just slightly from what was happening just a short while ago. Nick?
Thank you, Nicole. And we're going to go back to the statement from the mayor of our capital city, Salt Lake City, and it reads as follows. We are committed to intentionally addressing and dismantling the systemic oppression, discrimination, racism, and bigotry that exists in our city. As we continue to grapple with these issues nationwide, I want you to know we are here to work constructively with you, our residents, and again, that's Aaron Mendenhall, Salt Lake City Mayor. I've been in touch with a spokesperson for the Salt Lake City Police Department. They are not quite ready to do an interview with us. They say they will be releasing a statement, but they have said avoid downtown Salt Lake. We're going to toss to Jason Wood now. Jason, what are you seeing?
That one, because we're about to be on the news.
Hey, this is Ricky. This is the guy I was telling you about earlier. This is Danielle. You can see more officers are coming in. Ricky, we were talking about how this was not cool down here in Salt Lake City. It's drowning out the message. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. There was just a looting at the 7-Eleven down the street, and
we saw that. We saw you taking control over that.
We had to take control over that. Unfortunately, we don't have control over what people do, but we want to send the right message that as African Americans, our life is at risk every single day, and by promoting this type of behavior, it's not going to get better. So if we can go ahead and definitely promote peacefully, but we need change from the police as well.
Danielle, this is your city. Tell me why this is not cool.
It's not cool because this is not the message we're trying to send. We are trying to send love and peace for everybody. Everybody. Nobody should be a victim to this. Not black, white, Asian. Nobody should be a victim to this.
All right, guys, Danielle, I got to send this over to my partner that's down there, and there's some issues down there. We're sending this over to Nicole. You hear this? Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
All right, guys, something unfolding here right now. We have dozens of people kneeling with their hands up in front of the police barricade line that's been formed right now. Some of them holding signs, Black Lives Matter. We've got the power fist. Some of them chanting, I can't breathe, in George Floyd's name. We've got more people moving up the block now, and some people even getting out of their vehicles to see what's happening right here. Again, we've got, I'm sorry. We've got more people coming up, getting on their knees, again with their hands up in front of police. I think my IFB went out.
Nicole.
Yeah, I know, I don't know.
Did he just smash that car?
Is counter to the message so many folks here are bringing up, which is systemic racism, police brutality, and that unequivocally horrible video of George Floyd for 8 minutes with Officer Chauvin's knee on his neck. You're seeing the protests erupting all over our country. including here in Salt Lake City. We've seen a lot of activity in the last 15 minutes. ABC 4's Jason Winsbett on the front lines. Jason, give us the latest.
There's law enforcement coming in from everywhere, Nick, right now, right? We're on the tracks platform because that's the safest spot right now, but officers are trying to push us off of it. You can see more and more people are coming in. They're trying to block off 400 South, right at between 300 East and 200 South. This has been the epicenter of this battle the entire time we have been here, but you can see that they've been clear. Now police are asking us, we're live on TV right now, officer, we're just trying to be safe. We're moving out of here right now. This sergeant is asking us to move here, but we're going to continue to walk here on here. We believe we're walking down to Nicole Newman's area. More and more officers are coming down. They're clearing 400 South. John, can I get you to do a 360 and point that way here? And I got your back here. More and more officers are coming down this way. They're clearing this street right now. There are a lot of people in protective gear. John, just keep walking back with me. I got you right here. You can see that there are people right now videotaping this. This is history in Salt Lake City right now. We're coming right up to where Nicole Newman was, where that line is off of 400 South and 200 East at the public library. These people, sorry, John, these people are trying to protect their anger in this car. But now it looks like police are getting on a loudspeaker right now, asking people to disperse. More officers are coming in. They're coming in from West Valley City, South Salt Lake, tons of unmarked cars. This is stuff that, nobody could prepare for. I mean, there's just crowds of thousands and thousands of people right now. Nick, we need to get off this platform. We're going to send this right back to the station.
Jason, if you have to walk and talk while you do this, I totally understand. Can you tell me the strategic importance of what they're doing on 400 South? What are police trying to accomplish? Can you tell?
Nick, I can't really hear what you're saying. There's just so much going on right now. It looks like these police officers are going to take their vehicle back. Take a look at this. They may arrest somebody too. There's definitely a line happening right now. There's just anger going on right now. There's just anger going on, Nick. That's all I can tell you.
Jason, we can see that. Hopefully we can stay live on these images. That is police and protesters surrounding the image of
Nick,
that charred police vehicle. Go ahead, Jason.
Nick, you can see people are starting to raise their hands now. They're asking people to disperse. John, stay with this right here because this is a view. Right now we're behind the police line. So if something happens, all that stuff is upwind. Nicole Newman, she is right in front of this right now. Let me send this over to Nicole Newman right now. She can give you a better response of what people are doing.
Hey guys, well, the barricade, you see that more people, some of the people that were kneeling have dispersed, but now more people have gotten back down on their knees. A short while ago, there's some sort of debris that was being thrown. I'm not sure who was throwing it, but it looked like it was towards the police. Again, I don't know what that debris was. We have seen officers again moving up the block from the opposite direction as more people proceed to come up 400 South to this area right in front of the city library. Again, this is where this vehicle has been burning. Actually, somebody just threw a beer can at me. That wasn't cool at all. Police are saying something right now, but it's so loud here that we can't really hear. And it looks like what's starting to happen is as more police come up the block, people are coming from the other direction, preparing to potentially square off with police. Water bottles are being thrown. Again, a beer can was just thrown at us. We've got people out here with their cell phones, with their cameras, recording what is happening right now. Again, we are in front of the city library. This is where that vehicle has been burning.
And it looks like,
and you can see,
Nicole, it looks like they're squaring off right in front of that police vehicle. Are you able to, what are police saying right now?
Yeah, it looks like we've got Salt Lake City PD and again West Valley City. If I had to give a head count, I would say we at least have 2 to 3 dozen officers right now. Officers on the front line, of course, with their police shields. Some of the ones further back with their batons out, ready to move in. And again, we've got more vehicles coming from the opposite direction, making a loop around the block to come up to this area where the square off is starting to happen. It's so loud here that I can't really hear right now what they're saying to police.
And
Nick.
And we're just getting some information, a statement from the Governor Gary Herbert, saying he condemns the violence and looting happening on the streets. And also we're just hearing he's activated the National Guard. This is breaking news. We're going to repeat it for you. Governor Gary Herbert has activated the National Guard to be deployed on the streets of Salt Lake City as protests and the tension continue here around a charred police vehicle. We have protesters and police officers. You're taking a live look as our crews are likely being pushed from where they are by police. We hope that they're staying safe. ABC4's Nicole Newman just had a beer can, she thinks, or some kind of projectile thrown at her. We're working on getting you the full statement from Governor Gary Herbert, but if you can understand the chaos of what's happening, you can understand why our camera is moving the way it is right now. We are in the middle of this unprecedented protest on the streets of Salt Lake with vandalism, looting, a charred police vehicle, smashed glass. ABC4's Nicole Newman's waving at us. Hi, Nicole.
Hey guys, okay, we just want to show you again more of what's happening. We've got police vehicles moving up the block now. Understand where we are, just to kind of paint this picture again. We haven't really moved that far. We are 200 East and 400 South, in between the Dunkin' Donuts and the Planet Fitness, and officers are coming around. We're starting to see unmarked cars now coming up the block, and you can see this goes all the way down the block, and this is looping around to in front of the city library. Again, we've got even more officers coming out, and they're starting to move up the block. And again, the line of protesters who were kneeling in front of the police barricade wall has dispersed, but people are still throwing bottles of water and other items at them.
For Nicole Newman, thank you. We're going to toss it now to Jason Wynn, live in Salt Lake. Jason?
Hey, Nick, I got to tell you, these officers have fired shots. They're firing shots right now. You can see this right now. They are shooting beanbags at people. There are people sitting right in front of this spot. This is not even about 10 yards away from where Nicole Newman is. The National Guard is supposed to be on their way. Law enforcement is trying to lock down this entire area. You can see there is a fight that is about to brew here. These officers are moving forward. I told you earlier that they were going to make a line and they were going to decide to move forward or not. And now they are moving forward. You can see those officers have their faces shown. They are from West Valley, Salt Lake City PD. Right now we're on top of the track station. You can see they're moving the vehicles forward. They have their beanbag guns and pointed at people. You can see this right now. There are people with clubs in their hands. This is an intense moment here in downtown Salt Lake City, and you can see that people are just, this is a battle right here off of 400 South and 200 East. Now we know the National Guard is on their way. We have seen police officers, they're just flying in from oh, here we go, guys, here we go. You can see it right now. There may be some obscenities that are being said, but there's more law enforcement coming right down 400 South right now. You can see just how they took their car back. The guys, this is, it's been about an hour now, but they took their car back. You can see they moved that line forward. I told you earlier today that if they were making that line and were going to make a decision to go forward or not, and they took their vehicle back. You can see that right now. Law enforcement, John, I want you to turn right over here. You can see law enforcement, they're clearing the track station too. So this is pretty intense. I'm going to have John walk with me. John, follow me. As we walk over here, we're going to get down off of this platform. This is the only route that we can take off this platform. If you've been down here towards Liberty, John, just keep coming with me. You're clear right behind us here. Now we want you to, the obscenities, folks, they're coming. We're gonna move over here. See, there's more people yelling. There's more people throwing things here. We are moving with this line back here. We're live on TV right now, folks. Here comes West Valley. They're moving their car. We hear more choppers coming in right now. Guys, this might be something big here in a couple of minutes here. You can hear cars. John, let's go to the other side of the street. Let's be safe here right now. You can see that there's motorcycles trying to clear the way. Law enforcement right over here, John. We're just gonna show this right now. We're in the middle of 400 South, 200 East. Police have moved their line. They have cleared between 300 East and 200 East. They now own that street, but there's a lot of vehicles that were destroyed here. So
Jason, if we could
this guy, he's got a Kaepernick jersey. Hold on, man. Come on.
Jason, if we could
right
keep
here, John, follow me here.
If we could keep your picture up for just a second, and I'm going to just read the statement from Governor Gary Herbert. Go ahead and give us those images. We'll get right back to you. Governor Gary Herbert saying,
we're going to get to the safe side of the street.
Yep.
Thank you, man. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your opinion. John, do not show him. Follow me. Keep following with me here. All right, we're going to the safe side of the street right now. This crowd's getting angry, Nick. I'm telling you right now.
All right, a dynamism on the street. Jason, stay safe. You can see exactly what is happening.
They want you to show that.
I want to read the tweet from Governor Gary Herbert now. We condemn violence and looting. I have activated the National Guard to control the escalating situation in downtown Salt Lake. Governor Gary Herbert saying, I once again call on all who are protesting to do so peacefully. ABC4's Jason Wynn showing us not only the strategic but the symbolic importance for Salt Lake City Police to move again and take control of the area around their charred police car. Jason, I just wanted to get that statement from the governor out. Again, National Guard being deployed for Salt Lake City. Can you give us a scene setter again of what you're seeing?
Hey, yeah, Hello, guys. There's officers from South Salt Lake starting to show up right now. You can see they're driving right into the middle of this crowd. I don't know if that's a smart idea or not, but this guy, he's going to drive his truck from South Jordan. There they go. They're trying to attack right now. This is what's happening. There's more officers. John, follow me. John, let's go. We got to go. Come on. Guys, go.
ABC4's Nicole Newman may not even be able to hear us right now. Nicole, can you hear us? What do you see?
Hey guys, we are moving around, and right now, if you can see, somebody just threw a lime scooter at the police officers, and you can see they're starting to spare off. We're having to continuously move and pick up our gear. Police officers are telling us now that we even need to move back. Protesters on this side are getting really rowdy. We even had a run-in with a protester ourselves. People are throwing things. I'm still not sure all of what's being thrown. There's some sort of debris that is being thrown into the crowd. More police officers and more vehicles continuing to move up the block again as more people are coming up 400 South. And again, we haven't gone very far. We are still in this same area in front of the city library where this vehicle's been burning. What's happening now is that police are starting to move their vehicles in. It looks like to form some sort of, maybe potentially like a barricade. It's really hard to see right now where we are, but it looks like what they're trying to do is square in on each side. So we've got the armored vehicles moving up 400 South, and we've also got vehicles forming across 200 East, maybe to kind of like center this area off again. And you can see more officers moving up the block as people continue to move up from the opposite direction. So things definitely getting a little tense, and it looks like it's starting to rain. So I don't know if this will have any impact on whether the protesters proceed to stay out here. But again, we are being asked by police to move back, so we are going to follow that to make sure that we are in proper protocol with all of our gear. So again, you see some people here trying to talk to officers, not sure what they're saying.
Nicole.
But right now, for a look at what's happening on the other side, we're going to go ahead and toss it over to Jason Nguyen. Hi, Jason.
Hey Nicole, we're right on the other side of you. I'd advise you to stay over there on that side. Right now, we just saw West Jordan police come right through. You can see this is a crowd of people that are they're trying to form another line against the police officers. But we have seen, as you can see, that there is just they're trying to have their protest and their lines right here off of 200 East and 400 South. Now I know that there's been a lot of viewers that have called into our newsroom complaining about or telling me about some of the excitement here. I got to tell you that we're just trying to stay as safe as we possibly can while reporting what we're seeing over here. And when we have to run and take cover, we have to run and take cover. Now we're a good distance away, but every time that we think we're in a safe area, the crowd moves, and we can tell you that law enforcement is taking back their area, they're taking back their street. You can see that they just want this to end peacefully, but there have been some agitators here that have gone ahead. We've shown you right on live TV that have attacked the police, and the police, sorry man, here we go, you gotta stop. There's just people that just don't understand that their message is getting drowned right now. So this has been kind of what we've been seeing and dealing with the entire time that we've been down here. Now, right now, we're right in front of the Planet Fitness at the City Center 1 here. You can see this right over here. This is pretty much the end of the crowd. Most of the people are going to be over here right at 200 East and 400 South. Now, if my photographer can see down 400 South here, you can see there's just a sea of red and blue right down there, and that's where a lot of the officers originally started coming in at. But we believe that this is going to be the protest line here for quite some time. There have been no arrests that have been made that we know of. So we just know that police are just trying to regain control of this area, trying to bring some type of calm. But there's a lot of people that are frustrated right now because the death of George Floyd kind of marked everything, Nick. So, you know, the governor said that the National Guard is coming. We have more officers that are coming down 400 South right now. So the National Guard is expected to be deployed at some point in time. We can only imagine that that is going to happen before nightfall. From everything that I know from all of the law enforcement trainings that I've been at, law enforcement tries to create that line before it gets dark. So we can expect that there will be some other type of response here so that they can get this under control before nightfall. And this seems to be where they're going to hold that control for the rest of this evening. You've got people over here. We're right in the middle of a track station, so there's barricades on both sides of us, so we are being safe. But right now I want to send this right back over to my colleague Nicole, who's a little bit closer to this crowd and can give you a closer look. Nicole?
Hi, Jason. Well, yeah, again, we are on the other side, right near the entrance of the city library. It seems like protesters, again, sparring with police, they're moving a little bit further. Previously, they were moving to the other side of the street towards the Dunkin' Donuts and in between the Planet Fitness. Now they're starting to move back. Again, it is so loud here that I can't really hear what protesters are saying, but I do know a short while ago they were yelling that I can't breathe. Again, that was the same thing that George Floyd said to the officer when he was in police custody. And also to kind of paint the picture for you, coming all the way up 200, we've got people in traffic who are also trying to join this protest just from their own vehicles. And something that I thought was particularly moving is I saw a woman crying, just crying her emotions with everything that is unfolding here right now. So again, more people coming up 400, many with their hands up, walking up to this police line right now to square off with police. Nick, we want to send it back to you.
Nicole, thank you. And you mentioned the tears. It's hard to look at these images and not be sad. We live in Utah because we love it here, and Salt Lake is our capital city. Just an incredibly unprecedented and tragic day on the streets of Salt Lake. But we understand where the pain comes from. We understand why folks are protesting all over the country. We've seen incredible restraint from police. We've also seen some violent confrontations. So it is a continuing scene in downtown Salt Lake. I understand we have Jason Wynn or Nicole live for us to give us another look. And it's possible that is not happening. And last we checked with Jason and Nicole, I mean, they were being forced to move. You're seeing everybody congregating there at 200 East and 400 South in downtown Salt Lake. I'm not sure if we have any live images, but the governor, Gary Herbert, condemning violence and looting. He says, I have activated the National Guard to help control the escalating situation in downtown Salt Lake City. This is all in a tweet, by the way. I once again call on all who are protesting to do so peacefully. The statement continues. Well, again, he's condemning violence, calling in the National Guard. We haven't seen the National Guard just yet, and we're just getting this into the newsroom. We're told there's going to be a meeting to discuss an 8 p.m. curfew tonight. Governor Herbert, Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall, and Salt Lake City Police Chief Mike Brown, they are all meeting tonight to discuss an 8 p.m. curfew. We're told that is happening at this hour. We haven't seen the National Guard on the streets yet, but we know they're being deployed by the governor. Okay, we do have Jason Wynn now. Jason, what's the latest?
Right here. Hey guys, we need to show you this right now. Police are moving forward here. Murray police officer just drove through the crowd. So did Salt Lake City. They're moving their line up to 200 East and 400 South. They're going to, looks like they're going to be reclaiming this intersection right now. There's probably about 1,000 people down here right now. And as you heard, the National Guard is supposed to be coming through here. There is a curfew at 8 o'clock for downtown Salt Lake City. There is a lot more officers that we have seen respond. We're right here by the Planet Fitness. We're up above everybody right now, so we're in what we think is a safer area, but you can see right now that law enforcement, they are having things thrown at them. They've had rocks thrown at them. They've also responded. They've shot beanbags and rubber bullets. We believe that, they are responding just as good as they have been. So right now, our other team, Nicole Newman, she is a little bit over there by that officer's line. We're going to send it over to her right now.
I'll hold on. Hi, Jason. Well, I don't know, maybe like a few minutes ago, we started to see the crowd move. It just seems like there's times when the crowd is stagnant and there's other times when the crowd starts to move. Of course, we're seeing even more people come. We are near the county building, and there are people that are gathering over there as well. And also the water bottles that have been thrown at police. We do know someone was nice enough to come and make sure that we had water, so I don't know if the source of the water bottles being thrown are an act of people trying to be kind to make sure some of the protesters have water. We did see some people fall out, and they're just using them to go against the police. Again, more people coming up 200 into this area right here in the middle of the intersection. Earlier, traffic was able to flow through this particular area. And when we first got here around 3 o'clock, people were moving benches as well as barricades to start to block the area off. Well, then it reopened, and now it's just blocked off with people. And you guys see what it is. Again, the police vehicles moving up the block. And again, we've been told Governor Gary Herbert is issuing an 8 p.m. curfew for the city of Salt Lake. I want to send it over to my colleague. Meeting to discuss it.
And I'm not sure if we're taking Jason or Nicole, but I can tell you.
I want to toss it over to my colleague, Jason.
Hey, Nick, I heard you. What were you going to ask right now?
I wanted to mention that the assistant chief with Salt Lake City Police said he's disgusted, sickened, and saddened. Disgusted by the actions we saw someone who never should have worn the badge. Sickened by the total disregard of humanity by the other officers who watched it happen and took no actions to stop it. saddened that this drives yet another wedge nationwide between the police and the communities we serve. If you wear a badge and don't feel these emotions...
Explosion, Nick. They just launched a firework. Nick, they just launched a firework. There was an explosion on 200 East and 400 South. A firework was just deployed right at that police officer line, and it did blow up. There was an explosion. We heard it while you were reading the statement from the Salt Lake City police, but we can tell you right now, it doesn't appear that anybody has been injured, but there was an explosion that just happened that was a firework. Now, we understand, Nick, that this is a highly volatile situation. There was one of those scooters just thrown at police. This is something that, nobody wants to see. I just got done talking to Karen Kwan, one of our state senators, and she is trying to get everybody together right now, all the ethnic leaders, to discuss this, to discuss what is happening downtown right now. And Karen Kwan tells me that she is absolutely saddened by the images that she has been seeing, and I can guarantee you that the city is too. And you can see there's just thousands of people here trying to confront law enforcement right now. And right now, from what I'm being told by my producer Natasha, is that the governor is meeting with the National Guard to discuss an 8 o'clock curfew and with other leaders to discuss that 8 o'clock curfew. I can tell you that I have not seen this much law enforcement downtown Salt Lake City since yesterday, when we were taking Officer Lyday back to Ogden here, because this is just something where they're responding now to something completely different here. So we've seen a real tell of people supporting law enforcement, and now people just taking their frustrations out on law enforcement. But most people have just been throwing water bottles at police officers. We've seen a couple tomatoes, we've seen a couple of oranges tossed at them, but other than that, there have been, what we just saw moments ago, a loud explosion, and it was a firework that blew up in the street that could have damaged some people, could have hurt some people. Now you can hear the crowd shouting, "No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace." That's been something that's been mentioned throughout the entire day as these people are trying to bring justice for George Floyd, who was killed earlier this week by what we are being told, another law enforcement agency's officer. And that officer has been arrested, but right now they're wanting to take their frustrations out right here on 400 South and 200 East in front of the library, in front of the Dunkin' Donuts. It looks like law enforcement has now taken over Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know, John, if you can zoom in here, but it looks like we're getting neighboring counties that are starting to come in. That looks like it's a deputy from Davis County that is down here in his gear here, or maybe he's here to be a paramedic, because there are also paramedics over at Davis County. Those deputies are paramedics, so they serve a dual purpose. He is clearly behind that line. If somebody is injured, they'll take people behind that line, and that's where they're going to treat them. Now, if there is somebody also that's being arrested, they will take them behind that line, and you will see that. That is the secure area right between 200 East and 300 East on 400 South. You can see the SWAT mobiles. If you can just pan over here, John, you can see that the law enforcement now are in front of those mobiles there, those SWAT mobiles.
And Jason,
and they are just holding that line, Nick.
Jason, could I interrupt you? It looked like there were police surrounding that Dunkin' Donuts. Do you think they're trying to prevent looting, or they're just there along the street? Because it sure looks like they're trying to protect the business there amid all this chaos.
No, Nick, that's the secure line. They're not trying to protect the business. They're trying to protect everybody in that line. That is where the police line is. No one from the public will go past that line. That is the line that they will move forward when they decide to move forward. That is the secure area. That is where they can be. So as far as we can tell, any business that's in between there, that's going to be protected. We believe that 7-Eleven that was destroyed earlier by looters, that police have that locked down too, because the actual flashing lights, if you can see my photographer John Perry moving in here, those flashing lights, they go for a few more blocks down that way. So we believe that that area is also secured on that side. But most of the people, the thousands of people that are here, are right here, right in front of the city library, right on 200 East and 400 South, Nick.
Jason, I have to ask you while we've got you, it looks like pretty intense clouds on the horizon, and meteorologist Adam Carroll was just saying we could be getting a thunderstorm with 60-mile-an-hour winds. Can you comment on the weather? Can you give me a sense of what this crowd appears to be doing?
Nick, it's funny you just mentioned that because the wind just picked up right when you were saying that. So we're starting to feel that cold front start to move in. But I can tell you, this crowd doesn't care if it's going to rain, if it's going to thunder. They're going to stay here. So that is what we've been told. They're obviously right now voicing their frustration and their anger. And I just don't think the weather is going to stop these people right now, because right now they want justice. They want peace. But this is right now, things seem to calm down here in the last couple of moments here. But you saw those intense, tense times where police obviously had to respond to take over this street again and get some type of protection. That police car that's behind those SWAT mobiles, that car was on fire. That car was flipped. It was there the entire day. And now police officers were just able to regain that area, to regain that symbol of frustration for so many people. They were able to regain their police cars. So now what we're seeing here is we're just seeing people raise their hands. You know, there's some people that are throwing things from the back. A lot of the people that we've seen throw things have been young people. And you know, yesterday we were watching our partners, CNN, and the Atlanta mayor was telling people, you know, just go home, don't do this type of stuff, please go vote. You heard Ricky earlier today saying, don't do this type of stuff, please go vote. I mean, this is downtown Salt Lake City. This is our home. And right now, you know, police, they have a choice to move this line forward. You know, we're waiting on information from the governor, from the National Guard. Will there be a curfew? Will there not be a curfew? And we're trying to just show everybody what is happening on our streets in downtown Salt Lake City. We know that there's a lot of viewers that are frustrated right now about us showing what is happening, but if we don't document this in real time, in real life, people won't be able to see that. And so that's why we're down here. We've only had a handful of people take their frustrations out on the media. For the most part, people have been enjoying that we are here documenting this type of stuff. And we've had several people stick up for my photographer, John Perry, and I. So for right now, we're in a decent location. We can tell you, if you can see those trees, the dust starting to blow, we're upwind from this massive wind gust. We can tell that the weather is starting to move in right now. Nick, if it's okay, I'm gonna send things over to my colleague, Nicole Newman.
Thank you, Jason. Well, as you say, in documenting in real time, we did have to move out of where we previously were just because the crowd was getting rowdy and we were within the crowd. Now, again, you can see I'm not sure what's causing them to run, but right now people are starting to run up 400 East right now. This is past the Planet Fitness right now. Again, one of the things that we talked about a little bit earlier is about the traffic, and that there were people that were in traffic that were trying to join this movement. And some of the signs that people have, you see them that they're up. Photographer Josh Witchell, he is moving right now just to kind of give the viewers a better vantage point of where we are. Again, in front of the Planet Fitness, you can see vehicles with signs on their cars saying "I can't breathe" and "Black Lives Matter," and also to trust black people. Right now, again, I'm not sure what's causing people to move right now, but they are now moving up the block. And I can tell you from the vantage point that we have, again, we had to move just simply because police asked us to. But you can see police have moved up the block. You can see a sea of police lights. Now, where that area previously, hey, well, get out the way. You can see where previously, where it was open, Now all of that is a sea of lights where police vehicles are, and again, that's in front of the city library. And again, I'm not for sure what caused people to move up the block, but right now it seems that they're moving up 400 South. And Nick, we're gonna send it back to you.
It cannot be understated that we have the National Guard being deployed onto the streets of Salt Lake City amid massive protests. We've been dealing with a global pandemic, widespread unemployment, and then the tragic video that so many people have seen of George Floyd being killed by the officer in Minneapolis. Above our roof at the news station here, we can hear the rain start to pour down. So I'm wondering if Jason or Nicole is starting to see any of that rain come down, what the crowds are doing right now. It looked like things were calming, but we have ABC4's Jason Wynn now. Jason, what are you seeing?
Hey, Nick, you know, the wind is really picking up right now. It feels massively strong. We backed up just so we can take this back corner by Planet Fitness here and just kind of show you exactly what's going on here. And you can see the police, they're still where they were earlier today, where we were telling you just about 5 minutes ago that they were creating that line right there. Now, as Nicole mentioned, we saw a lot of people that were running down 400 South towards 100 East. But we're unsure of why they were running either. But there are more people coming right back here off of 200 East and 400 South, and they're continuing to throw things at police officers, mostly water bottles here. Now most of the crowd, they understand that the National Guard may be moving in soon. And what I was just told by one protester was, bring them. And that was kind of interesting and kind of alarming to me. So, you know, that is what we're dealing with down here as the storm starts to move in here. But from what we can tell here is that police, they're going to block off from 200 East all the way past 300 East off of 400 South. For the most part, they've been letting the crowd voice their frustrations. There hasn't been any projectile thrown back towards the crowd. And most people that are at the front of that line are trying to remain civil. They have been yelling at some of these other protesters for their actions. Other people that are just surrounded by me and another photographer that's here with my photographer, John Perry, they're just taking this all in because this is something that not many people have seen down here, but this is a lot of frustration that we are feeling from these folks right now, Nick.
And Jason, we're hearing from our team of meteorologists, Alana Brophy, Adam Carroll. There's a severe thunderstorm warning in effect in downtown until 6 o'clock, so in the next 5 minutes or so. But we could be getting 60-mile-per-hour winds, so it's unclear if that's going to have any effect on the protest that has been going on now for north of 6 hours. At 6:15, we're going to take live a Zoom meeting with the mayor of Salt Lake, Aaron Mendenhall, the chief of police, Mike Brown, in Salt Lake, and Governor Gary Herbert. They are going to discuss an 8 p.m. curfew for the city of Salt Lake. And just to recap, the governor has issued, he has called out the National Guard. We've seen a police vehicle flipped and burned. We have seen glass smashed at the track stop. We've seen vandalism at the police station, vandalism at our state capitol. The video of George Floyd's death spreading across the country, protests spreading across the country, but no one has seen protests like this along the streets of Salt Lake City. And now we have the National Guard, we're told, that will be deployed onto those streets. We are continuing our live coverage of these protests that were peaceful for many hours and have escalated. We've seen a lot of restraint from police officers. We've seen people attack them unprovoked, but we did see some violent confrontations, especially as police made that initial push. Live on television, photographer Josh Witzel captured a man who was pushed over, collapsed on the ground. 3 police officers then went to help him up. But the images are striking, unlike anything we've ever seen. We've got another live look from downtown Salt Lake. Either Nicole Newman or Jason Wynn is going to give us a sense of what's happening right now.
Hey guys, you know, as we've been saying, we're out here and we're talking to the people, and right now I'm joined by an activist, Ashanti. I want to thank you for your time. I do want to ask you, why did you decide to come out today?
We decided to come out today because we're the voice of the youth. We're the voice of the future generations. And as a BYU graduate, I understand the Beehive. There's a group called the Beehive, which means collectively we work together. Look what's happening around us. Us working together and us doing this is starting to cause change and starting people to wake up. So that was the main reason, to just get awareness and get everybody out here.
What do you think about the way things have unfolded?
I think the way have things unfolded is very unfortunate. Rest in peace, George Floyd. I think, especially out here, we need to remember why we're out here. Not just looting stuff, not just knocking down buildings. We need to remember the focus and why we're out here. For me personally, I have a 2-year-old son that's black, and so he has to be raised around this world. And I want him to see the power of numbers in the village. If we come together, what impact can do and what the change can be.
When you see this turnout, you talked about your son. Does it give you hope?
Yes, definitely. I want that's the only thing we need right now is hope and courage and the ability to do this, and also to vote. We need to get with our representatives of Utah and actually talk to them. A Congressman, Fred Brink, down in West Valley. We need to go to the websites, us.gov Utah, so we can start voting and start implementing our infrastructure that we need to see in the system for justice.
You talked about change, and lastly, I do want to ask you just again to reiterate, what are the things that you think need to happen in order to move it forward from protests that are breaking out right now to actually seeing true change?
Education. Education is the first thing. We need to educate ourselves with what's going on, what's happening here, and how we can educate ourselves on the system so that we can better the system. This system has been in put for 100 years now. The Congresswoman has been in office, I forgot her name, I think it's Sandy, but she's been in office for 60 years. That means we aren't seeing any evolution within the system. So we need to start having more political leaders, more people like myself and you that are stepping out here and wanting to change.
Okay. Ashanti, I want to thank you for your time. I want to send things over to my colleague, Jason Nguyen. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Nicole, right now we have another police line that has formed right off of 300 East. Sorry, come on, man, we're on live TV right now, all right, brother? All right, so right now, police, you can see right now, one of the officers, he's taking a look. John, I want you to take a look up here. There are people on this building. It's an apartment building right now. We have one officer that is completely looking at all those people to make sure that nothing is thrown down on them. They are creating a police line. They are going to move this police line up to 400 South eventually. You can see the big vehicle right behind them. We don't know which department these officers are with or deputies for that count, but they are prepared. They have their mask on them. They have their deterrents to crowd disperse right now, and there is a medic. We can see that there is a medic right in the middle of this police line, so you can see that they are trying to protect themselves around this vehicle, this big black vehicle, the SWAT type vehicle. Right over here, if my photographer John follows me, the rain is just now starting to come down in Salt Lake City. This is 400 South. This is at 400 South, 200 East, and you can see the crowd being dispersed. The police line is moving forward right now, and that they're coming our way. You can see that, but here they're going to be met with another police force. This crowd does not know that, but that police line is moving their line up. It looks like just a couple of feet, but they're looking to take over that intersection. And if I was a betting man, and I know we can't do that here in Utah, but that police line is going to move up to this part of the intersection, and this police line that is right behind us, this police line is going to meet that police line, and eventually they're going to take over and secure this part of downtown here. Now, my photographer John, as we walk in the rain, we're going to walk right back over here because these are some of the vehicles that are stuck right in the middle of this, Nick. These are the vehicles that can't get out of here, but they're also the vehicles that are sitting here documenting this. You can see all of this right now, Nick, so we can tell you that there's a lot of frustration down here.
Jason, I can see those pictures, and
yeah, Nick,
continue to give us a sense of what you're seeing, but you covered the procession for Officer Lyday yesterday. You know, the slain officer in Ogden. How do you make sense of Utah and its proud support for law enforcement with what we're seeing here? Because obviously the video of George Floyd's death has saddened all of us, and yet you see a massive protest against police brutality here, and yesterday such a show of support in Ogden.
Nick, you know what a coin looks like. There's two sides to the coin and there's a middle. Right now we've seen both sides of that coin and we're trying to find the middle. That's the best way I can describe what is happening in Utah, because we all know that Officer Lyday went to protect a family in a domestic violence call. That's what we were being told. Here, this is frustration from Americans that have dealt with issues and centuries of problems, and they're just frustrated. And we have a younger generation that is really just trying to take some of this out on law enforcement. And most people that we have talked to, they have said that they're just trying to be to get their voices heard. I'm sure this man, sir, would you mind talking to us? No swear words, okay,
No
brother?
swear words.
No swear words. Tell me what your name is.
Devon Blackman.
Just look at me, man. Devon, tell me why you're down here right now.
We're down here because we need to inflict change. We're not down here to separate. We need to bring all races together. That's why we're down here, to bring everybody together. Black, white, Mexican, it doesn't matter. We're here for peace and love. Right now, I got a 10-month-old son. He's black. I'm afraid for him to grow up in this.
I'm being told you talked to my colleague right over there, so they just heard your story. So I really do appreciate you coming through here and talking to us. But, you know, we're going to keep walking this way. John, watch behind you. There's a motorcycle coming in here. We're going to move right in front of this lady. Can you see us? Thank you very much. What I want to show you here is that, you know, Nick, there's just, you know, when you ask me about Officer Lyday and you ask me about what's happening right now, all I can tell you is that there's frustration. There was frustration against that domestic violence. There's frustration against this. You know, I think one of those things is that people are just trying to voice their feelings right now. But right now, as we can see, come on, man, come on. So one of the things we can tell you here, Nick, and I just want you to follow me here, John, is that there is a police line right here. We're right off of 200 East, and that eventually that police line, you see the K9, right there. That line is going to move down here to 400 South and join the other officers. So this is what we're dealing with. They are controlling that crowd. They are pushing it in. And one of the two routes that this crowd has to go is going to be down 400 South, or they're going to be going down 200 East heading southbound, because that is where the police lines are, Nick. And a lot of people, you've heard it, there's obscenities being said right now, and they're just trying to voice their opinion. We just understand that not everybody here agrees with all of the destruction that we're seeing in downtown Salt Lake City, Nick.
That was said very well, Jason, and it's interesting, you know, you've got all of that frantic and tense behavior earlier with those clashes with police, and then you've got equal parts calm there as folks calmly protest, standing around. They are blocking the street. You see the lines of police. But this continues to evolve from violent protests, a police car overturned on fire, the National Guard being deployed downtown, and we have about 10 minutes here until we're told the mayor, the police chief, and our governor are going to meet over Zoom to discuss a possible 8 o'clock curfew. We know those have not been honored in other cities like Minneapolis. We're continuing our live coverage with Nicole Newman. Nicole, you have someone to talk to.
Yes, Nick, we do. In fact, the person that I have didn't want to be identified. However, he did show us video to verify that he was someone who helped the elderly man initially when you saw it, maybe about a few hours or so. It's hard to kind of tell how long we've been out here. That was pushed to the ground. Can you tell us how he's doing?
Yeah, he's fine. It was just like his knee was swollen and his his shoulder was swollen. Sorry, but then me and my friend saw people helping him to a bench, and I was like, can we help carrying him down the street if it starts to get gassed? And basically we got him in front of the city council building to sit down, and then some people were saying they tried to call 911. They said we actually can't send ambulances right now. He said as long as we can get into an emergency room, the VA will cover his costs. So we were trying to do that, and then someone was willing to go pull their car around, but then they couldn't get through because that was right as the chain of cops started coming down the street. So we ended up, his son came up down the road, and we were able to get him because his house was only a half block away. He wasn't trying to protest, he was just trying to take pictures. So we ended up helping him walk down to his house, and he's there now and he should be safe. But like honestly, he just needs to get to a hospital. But until the roads clear up, he can't do that. So I don't know, we saw someone in to help, and that's the whole point is one of us goes down, we all need to band together And I don't think anyone can say all lives matter until everyone says Black Lives Matter. So that's why I'm out here right now. And it looks like everyone's running, so I'm going to go. But yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Good day.
Hey, Nick, we're going to send it back to you.
Okay, Nicole, and we caught that image live on television. We know it's a chaotic moment. We know that the police have been getting a lot of unprovoked attacks, but we'll try to show it to you again at 10. But it was striking. The police had, their shields up, and as they tried to move the crowd, they knocked this elderly man on the ground. And so we know there's a lot going on, and we know that decisions are made in the moment. Right now we have a running crowd. We're going to take another live look from either Jason or Nicole's photographer. Jason's photographer. Here we go.
Hey Nick, thanks for sending it back to us here. Just want to show you West Valley has brought in another armored vehicle. They have completely blocked off the street of 200 East here. So they're going to position themselves what we believe to be here for quite a while. We do know that the police line from West Valley and Salt Lake City, right over here by the Dunkin' Donuts, has moved up. They moved up about 5 feet and they turned the West Valley SWAT vehicle, the new SWAT vehicle that they have. It's perpendicular to the Salt Lake City one. So that is their line. Again, we've been telling you this in the entire time. These are lines that do not move. They move forward, but they do not move backwards. And we can tell you that they are starting to move right down here to 400 South. These officers, they only got about 200 yards to go. So Nick, what I can tell you is this line is moving. This is where most of the frustration is down here. This over here, this is going to be a line that moves forward eventually, and we're going to continue to stay here. We're going to continue to cover this, Nick. So I'm going to send this back to you in the studio.
Jason, have you seen any clashes recently? It looks a lot more peaceful now. We're seeing the sun peek through the clouds. I don't know if we can take Jason again, but Jason, I haven't seen any clashes in the last 5 minutes or so. Wondering what you're seeing.
Nick, I haven't seen any clashes, but I'm on a different police line. That line over by Nicole that's behind us, it's a little more active, I should say. And you can see as my photographer, John, starts to move in, you can hear the yelling, you can hear the screaming, and you can see there's just thousands of people. And now it seems like somebody is jumping on top of a vehicle. You can see them jumping. It looks like they might be destroying that vehicle, and they're heading onto that south side of the library there. As we start to walk down here, John, let's walk down here and give them a little bit better of a look. If the clashes are happening, Nick, I believe that they would be down here. You can see right here, law enforcement has from this wall right here all the way down towards those SWAT vehicles, but the crowd itself is moving on the south side of 400 South over here. They're moving away from the intersection. As we start to move forward a little bit more, you can see some of these officers, they're actually speaking with people and trying to ration with them. That is what we've been seeing from a lot of folks here, is just some type of rationalization. But as we continue to move down here, you can see this police line, Nick, is right here, and we're now in the intersection of 200 East and 400 South. You can see that the sun is shining on these officers, but right over here, it just seems like people are jumping on vehicles. Any vehicle that is stuck inside there, there is people around. There are people there. And just over here to my left, or to my right over here, these officers, they're starting to move forward now because there's no one here in this intersection. You can see this officer, he's in charge, obviously. He is moving people here. John, right here in the middle over here. Hey buddy, come on now. Anyways, we're gonna send this back to you, Nick.
Okay, Jason, we're gonna send it to Nicole now. We're understanding there are some clashes happening. We're working on crews getting them deployed there. This is so fluid, what's happening right now. National Guard being deployed in downtown Salt Lake. We haven't seen it just yet. ABC4's Nicole Newman. Hi, Nicole.
Hey guys, well things are starting to get really rowdy over on this side. I can tell you over here in the crowd, there are some people that appear to be standing on cars. There's also, it looks like a truck that has pulled up, which what appears to be a flatbed that people are standing on. And also people are coming up and telling us we haven't seen this and we can't confirm this for ourselves, but apparently someone has a crossbow. Multiple people have been telling us this, that someone has a crossbow and is around in the crowd threatening to shoot it at people. So, and here we go, people are moving right now.
Nicole, are those flashbangs from police, or are these civilian protesters driving
now?
Hey, Nicole, can you hear me?
Nick, I couldn't hear.
Now, were those flashbangs from police,
guys,
Nicole? I'm not sure if you can hear me. Flashbangs from police, or were those protester vehicles?
It's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell, Nick. All I can say is that when those explosions, wherever they came from, it caused the crowd to disperse some. And as the people have cleared out just a little bit, you can see that there's another vehicle that has been turned over and has graffiti written on it.
Nicole, do we know if that's a police vehicle?
Let me see if I can get over here and see.
Hey, but be safe, okay? I'm not trying to tell you to do anything that puts your safety in jeopardy. All right, we're going to take Jason Wynn now. We'll check back in with Nicole in just a bit.
This does not appear to be...
Jason, can you hear us?
Hey Nick, as we've been telling you, police lines have moved. This line has moved perpendicular. Now they have taken half of the intersection back. Over there where that crowd is where Nicole was. That is where we've seen several fireworks. It appears that another vehicle has been overturned and that it is on fire. What I can also tell you is that team that we were just mentioning that was going to take over this part of the street, they have also moved forward. You can see that they have their vehicles. They have blocked off the street. There is a K9 that is there. This team is prepared. There are also people watching the roofs over here. Just over here behind me, as my photographer pans to the left here, you can see that the other law enforcement officials are here, and they're holding this line right now, not letting anybody go past them, and they are trying to protect themselves. I am on the rather calm side for right now, and most of the frustration is over here as my photographer John starts to move to the left over here. Sorry for the camera movement moving quickly here, but this is, you can see there is another vehicle that is on fire. This is the police line. This is filled with UPD, South Salt Lake City, you name it. There are officers from all over the place that are here to try to protect downtown Salt Lake City. But right over there behind them, behind this triangle, is a group of people that are frustrated, and they've been trying to take their frustrations out on law enforcement. And you can see that car right over here, it is burning right in between the Salt Lake City police officers in their protective gear. That is something that is, that's the second vehicle that has been caught on fire. You can hear them on the loudspeaker trying to get the crowd to disperse. There are children down here. There are teenagers down here. There are adults down here. And just about anybody that has some type of frustration has came down to downtown Salt Lake City. And you can see that the 400 South has been one of those areas that has just been a big issue here all around this library. As my photographer John tries to readjust, he's had this camera on his shoulder majority part of the day, and to hold a 20-pound camera in something like this is very, very hard to do. I can tell you, whether it's police or if it's protesters, there's plenty of water that's being passed around so people stay hydrated. So that is one of the things that we can tell that may make this go through a little while longer. Now we understand that there's discussions over a curfew tonight, and that the National Guard may may be coming down here. I can tell you that law enforcement wants to gain control over this situation before nightfall. That vehicle, there's another explosion. You can see that vehicle now completely on fire as it burns through that gas tank. You can see there are more people right behind me that are arguing with law enforcement. Law enforcement has a triangle right now. Thank you. I really, hey, come on, man. Why you gotta cuss, man? Come on. Hey, brother. All right, man. Thank you for your opinion. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. So as you can see right behind me, there's a vehicle that is on fire here. There's a lot of people trying to document what is going on with all of this right now. Nick, we are hearing several explosions right now. You can see that there's a large plume of smoke that is right there in front of that police line right there. So we are we're going to continue to document this right now. And my photographer here, we're going to move as this police line continues to move forward. And Nick, I'm going to send this back to you right now because this vehicle is really on fire.
Jason, the second vehicle to be lit on fire in downtown Salt Lake today. For those who thought this protest might end before nightfall, it certainly looks like folks are not going away. Nicole Newman is right in front of that fire. We're going to take it live to Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Nick. Well, you guys can see it. The vehicle within the past couple of minutes now almost completely fully engulfed. I was able to get close enough. It's some sort of Mitsubishi model, and you can see West Valley in their armored vehicle trying to move in to keep people away from this vehicle. A few explosions from the vehicle have gone off, and it's even more fully engulfed in flames right now. As police are trying to move in, protesters are trying to keep their vehicles from coming in. But if you guys can see this, even as protesters are throwing things at them within the midst of this smoke, there is a line, a wall around this West Valley City armored vehicle as they try to keep protesters back from this vehicle that is starting to burn even more. Nick?
Nicole, these images are unreal. Burning vehicles in the streets of Salt Lake City, plumes of smoke. It's just unreal. Do you know why they would have lit this vehicle on fire? It sure doesn't look like a police vehicle. Okay, we're gonna stay on this image for just a second.
I'm not sure, Nick. We've had to keep shifting where we were standing as we were within the crowd, and so every time.
And we're taking a Zoom meeting now. The image that you just saw with flame on the screen. This is a meeting about a possible 8 p.m. curfew. Listen in. It looks like they're having a technical difficulty. When we can get audio, we're going to come back to this, but if we could take a live look back at those flames to get a sense of what's happening on the streets of Salt Lake. Once they figure out their Zoom meeting and the technical issues, we will come back to that. I don't know if our producer can take the video of those flames. It's just impossibly difficult to watch, as we know the message of so many of these protesters is about racial inequality, police brutality, that horrible video that we saw of George Floyd, and yet, so many people who share those views do not condone the looting, the lighting of the cars on fire, the kind of destruction that we are seeing on the streets of our capital city. This is the second vehicle we've seen lit on fire today. We've seen vandalism at the police station, at the Capitol. We've seen confrontations. We've seen a lot of understandable pain and anger, and a lot of it has manifested in very peaceful ways, but some of it has resulted in the images you're seeing on your screen. So many other folks are standing peacefully by. We've seen folks blocking streets, but again, some of the chaos, the shattered glass, the looting, the vandalism, the graffiti. We know the National Guard is being deployed on the streets of Salt Lake. The governor tweeting that out earlier, and he said that at this point, you know, the hearts of Utah officials go out to the family of George Floyd. But he is not condoning any of that destruction of property. We're grateful for the swift actions of those taken by the state of Minnesota. Governor Gary Herbert said to hold those for his death responsible, accountable. We cannot, the governor said, condone violence, defacement of public buildings, and destruction of property. Here's Jason Wynn.
Hey, Nick, law enforcement just allowed us to go behind their line. We're grateful for the Unified Police because it was their sergeant that allowed us to come back here and give you a closer look at this. I can feel the flames coming from this vehicle that is just clearly cooking. We've heard several explosions since we've been here. You can feel, it feels like it's 110 degrees right now next to this vehicle here. You can see law enforcement is now moving. They have completely.
And it looks like we're losing Jason's picture. It's an image you can't turn away from, and we apologize for the freeze frame. This is live television. This is the technology on the streets of Salt Lake that we are using in a dynamic situation. A meeting right now, less visually interesting than this, but very important, is happening, and it's about a possible curfew. We're going to listen in to Mayor Aaron Mendenhall right now.
Property is only causing more pain. What's happening on our streets right now is not justice. Today, Salt Lake City wanted to give people the space they needed to express the anger and hurt and frustration felt by so many in our community. The right to protest is legitimate and it is critical to democracy. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of people in Salt Lake City did just that today, peacefully protest. We join with those who demand change and are ready to work together. The unfortunate choice of some to inflict destruction and chaos does nothing to right past wrongs or rebuild a system that is unjust. Salt Lake City Police made a calculated decision today to allow protest, vandalism, and even the loss of a police vehicle instead of ratcheting up the likelihood of a violent confrontation with aggressive police action as we've seen across the country. Salt Lake City Police are extensively trained in de-escalation, and their restraint today, even right now, is evidence of that. As we've seen in cities across the country, these protests have drawn some individuals that are less interested in racial justice than they are in wanton destruction. This is not acceptable, and it undermines the message these peaceful demonstrators marched for today. The safe space we offered for today's protests is no longer safe for anybody. So with my support, the Salt Lake City Police Department has been mobilized to stop the violence, destruction, and the looting in our city. Our police department is being supported right now by the Utah National Guard, Utah Highway Patrol, and police departments valley-wide. Additionally, I'm enacting through an emergency proclamation a curfew that will take effect at 8 p.m. tonight. The curfew will apply to the entire city. It will extend from 8 p.m. today until 6 a.m. Monday morning. During the hours of curfew, people may not be on a public street or in any public space, including for the purpose of travel, with the following exceptions: law enforcement, fire, paramedics, or other medical personnel, news media, people traveling to work.
I wonder why they don't switch to the
caring for a family member, friend.
Herbert speaking now. I'm watching her on Zoom, but
I believe that's Pastor Davis, and we're so glad you're back with us. I'm going to wrap my remarks and I'll hand it right off to you, Pastor Davis. The exceptions: people traveling to work, obtaining food, caring for a family member, friend, or an animal, traveling to the airport, seeking medical care, fleeing dangerous circumstances, or experiencing homelessness. Private businesses may remain open, but people may not be out on the streets or in a public space for reasons other than those I've just listed. Please, if you are on Salt Lake City streets right now and you do not meet those exceptions, go home. This city belongs to all of us. We've worked hard to build this place, and we must work just as hard to protect it and do the productive work of fixing what is broken in our city and in our systems. Violence is not helping. As Killer Mike said to the city of Atlanta and to our nation last night, have strength, empathy, and determination. It is okay to feel anger. It's okay to demonstrate. Violence and destruction only make the problems worse. And tonight, I ask you, stop destroying our city. We will continue through the media to be in communication with you and update you throughout the evening and this weekend.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Reverend Davis.
Thank you for being with us, Reverend Davis. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I want to echo the concerns for our community. We're all a part of this community, and no use anybody destroying any part of it. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be angry, but the expressions of our anger and our frustration have to be in nonviolent ways. So I want to summon the community, along with the mayor and the police chief, to do all that you can, but do it nonviolently. Thank you all for listening, and I hope that we'll work together to bring a solution to this.
Thank you. We will now turn our time over to Governor Gary Herbert.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Mayor Mendenhall and Pastor Davis, for your words of counsel and wisdom. I support what you both have said, and will give my undying support as we move through this kind of unusual and difficult time. I'm right now at the EOC Center at the Capitol. We have a unified command where we've in fact combined the efforts of our public safety people, our highway patrol and troopers, as well as Chief Brown and the Salt Lake City Police Department. We're joined by 13 other cities and their police representatives here in this unified effort. And as has been mentioned by you, Mayor, I'm activating the National Guard to help where we need to have their input, their labor, and their help in clearing the streets and making sure that we, in fact, do not have any additional rioting and looting that's taking place. I'll just echo what has been said, too, and that is that we understand, I think most of us agree, that what happened in Minneapolis was despicable. And we have instances of that happening periodically around the country, and that's not, something that we support. At the same time, we honor the ability for people to assemble and to issue their complaints and address the government and peaceful protesting. But unfortunately, what I've seen in the last few hours is that's gone from a peaceful protest to just criminal behavior. I think we need to call it what it is, criminal behavior where people are looking to riot, to loot, to create violence, and that's not acceptable. I understand that we need to do some things together, which we are doing. The reason I've activated the National Guard is to give some additional augmentation to the efforts of making sure that people's lives and their property is protected. That's what we would expect in an organized society, a civil society, that in fact laws cannot be broken with impunity. And if they are broken, then they will be punished. That's part of the protest today is if somebody's broken the law, done something in violation of somebody's constitutional rights, they should be punished, and I expect that they will. But it cuts both ways. So we're going to make no mistake that we'll do whatever is necessary to restore order to our state, to our capital city here, Salt Lake. Mayor Mendenhall has my 100% full support to do what we need to do to, in fact, restore order here in our capital city. And I would say that's true throughout the state. We have other cities that have maybe smaller protests, but we're concerned about anything that becomes less than peaceful. We'll be there to help our other cities too. So let me just conclude by saying, I would hope all of us, as we understand the issues at hand, will stand tall for civil rights. If there's bigotry, if there's racism, that should not be tolerated. We live in a state that leads the nation when it comes to volunteerism, charitable giving, helping neighbors, helping people we don't even sometimes know because we care about them as children of God, neighbors that we don't know, but we want to make sure that their lives are better. That's unique in Utah compared to many places in the world today. What we see today is not typical Utah behavior. So let's make sure that we do our part to restore order and to make this a day that we won't look back with some embarrassment and be ashamed of what's taken place. We're better than that here in Utah. So again, thank you, Mayor Mendenhall, for your leadership. We support you. We back what you're doing. And certainly the 8 p.m. curfew through Monday, we support and we'll help you enforce it.
Thank you, Governor. This is Chief Mike Brown. Today has been a very hard day. It breaks my heart to watch what is happening here in Salt Lake City. We want to thank those who came to peacefully protest. And I'm asking, in fact, I'm pleading with you to clear the city. I'm calling for a stop of violence and property damage. This is uncalled for. It doesn't further the message. We will be enacting a curfew from 8 p.m. tonight through Monday at 6 a.m. in the morning. We have a unified command with federal, state, and local personnel, and we intend to be on the street. We will enforce the laws and this curfew. We have put resources downtown to prevent looting and violence. All available officers in the valley have responded to Salt Lake City and are being implemented into this plan. We will be enforcing this curfew and working to stabilize the infrastructure. Make no mistake, and I echo what the governor said, we will prosecute those that are committing these crimes. I mourn the murder of Mr. Floyd and what we saw in Minneapolis. And we as a city are committed to ensure that nothing like that happens here in Salt Lake City. But fellow Utahns, this is not the way. Why did it take us so long? My hope was that it wouldn't turn to this. And sometimes it doesn't pay to rush in without a good strategic plan. Often we just become the targets and our mere presence escalates the situation, which we saw today. Neighbors, friends, please stay at home and pray for everybody down here that this comes to a safe end. I want to thank Mayor Mendenhall for her leadership, the governor for his leadership, and my dear friend, Pastor Davis. Thank you for your inspirational words. We can take a few questions if you'd like.
I believe we have a question from Jim Spiewak. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Jim, and ask.
Okay, yeah, Jim Spiewak with KUTV, if everyone can hear me. Thanks for taking a quick question here. My question, maybe for Chief Brown, if you know at this point, is there anything to indicate that those that are inciting the violence that we're seeing are not local, not from the city, not even from the state of Utah, that have come here to participate in this violence?
Jim, good question. At this time, we don't know. I think right now we've made a few arrests, and we will know after we gather the data on who's down here and causing that. But right now, we don't have that intel or that information.
And just a quick follow-up, do we know how many National Guardsmen will be deployed throughout the city, at least initially, and then will there be others on standby if they need to be called out?
I've authorized General Turley to activate and repurpose up to 200 National Guardsmen.
Okay, thank you.
I want to follow up on what the governor said. We're not going away. We're going to enact this curfew, and we're going to be here until Monday morning. And if we need to go longer, we will. We do have the resources, and we're very grateful for the National Guard and their support.
And then I guess just one follow-up, because I was watching some of the coverage, and we saw protesters approach private businesses and start to throw things through the windows. Is there anything that we can say to business owners right now, whether they're still at their locations or throughout the weekend, if violence starts to erupt right outside of their business?
Jim, what I would say is please call the cops, call 911. Let us know where that's occurring. We will have resources out and monitoring and patrolling and looking for these type of situations. But if they could be our ears and eyes, that would help. Please don't engage the protesters. Your safety is paramount, but if you could help us with that early notification just by calling 911 or 799-3000, let us know so we can respond.
Next, we have a question from Ben Winslow, after which we'll go to Matt Cannon.
Hi, Ben Winslow with Fox 13. Mayor Mendenhall, do you support the use of National Guard? Or, and I guess a question also for the governor, are there concerns that this might escalate the situation even further or inflame it further?
First, absolutely, I do support of additional resources coming in to secure our city, our people, and our property here, our infrastructure, the public infrastructure. The streets of Salt Lake City downtown are not safe right now. Salt Lake City Police Department needs that additional support and resources, and we're grateful for it. We need to get this under control immediately.
Ben, let me add to what the mayor just said. As we look around the country and see this not only here currently, but in times past, any kind of a delay that we have just allows more activity to occur. It has a kind of an energy of itself. We don't want that to occur. So we want to get on top of this now directly with adequate force to enforce. These are not going to be out there bullying people. They're just going to making sure that the laws are enforced, that rioting and looting and destruction of people's property and threatening their lives is going to be stopped. So again, we're careful about how we're going to approach it. These people are professional, have been trained for this kind of a situation. And I expect professionalism up and down the line when it comes to enforcing the laws of the city and the state.
Go ahead, Matt.
This is Matt Canham from the Salt Lake Tribune. Has there been any injuries that we know about at this time? Has anyone been hurt? To Governor, if you could comment about the vandalism and messages spray painted on the Capitol building and what you would say about that. And 3, do you have any reaction to the comments from the president indicating that when the looting starts, the shooting starts? Should people in Salt Lake City be afraid of being shot?
Matt, I don't know who's direct the question again. What did you want me to answer? This is the governor.
Sorry, I wanted you to answer about the spray painting on the Capitol and the president's tweet about saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Is that, how would you, should people in Salt Lake City be afraid of being shot?
Well, I would hope not. Again, I don't answer for what the president tweets out. I don't know what he was thinking about when he said it, so I'm not familiar with the quote. There may be some history behind, looting and shooting. It does seem to go together too often, as we've seen historically. We don't want that to happen here. I don't expect that it will happen here. But we will enforce the law and make sure that, in fact, the laws are enforced. The graffiti on the Capitol, again, that seems to be a first source of protest signs, and sometimes they deface public property. Just a reminder, that's against the law. I will have people out there immediately to try to clean that off and make sure that our Capitol looks presentable as it should be in our capital city. So we're not going to tolerate defacing public property. That's a violation of law also.
I'd like to respond. I think that the president's tweet is racist and intended to incite fear among people, and it's absolutely inappropriate. Beyond that, I'll let Chief answer whether or not anyone has been injured in the activities and actions happened so far.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, looting is a theft. It's the theft of property. It's a property crime. You don't use lethal force to enforce a theft. That's completely inappropriate, and that will not occur. Just short and simple, that will not occur.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think we're going to wrap here. If you have additional questions, please reach out. We'll try to answer them as best we can. And as Mayor Mendenhall said, we will continue to update you as the situation progresses. Thank you.
We were on that Zoom call trying to get a question in. It's a convoluted thing where you raise your hand digitally, and they didn't essentially call on us. We have a couple more questions for them. But just to wrap that up, the governor calling what's happening on the streets of Salt Lake criminal behavior. We're better than that, Governor Gary Herbert said. Our police chief, Mike Brown, here in Salt Lake City, he said, "It breaks my heart what happened. They stood back as a police agency to avoid escalating any of this violence because their presence can just escalate situations like this. But their plea is to leave the city. A curfew just announced, just to wrap up everything we heard, 8 p.m. tonight to 6 p.m. Monday morning. The police chief saying, we will prosecute those who commit these crimes. Mayor Mendenhall says stop destroying the city. Certainly you heard it loud and clear from all the officials there. 8 p.m. curfew till 6 p.m., 6 a.m. Monday morning. We are going to take a slight break from what is happening now, checking in with meteorologist Adam Carroll. Adam, what's going on with the weather? I know it's been a crazy day, but folks still want to get outside.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a crazy day, Nick. A challenging day as well in the weather world as we've had a lot of activity. We've had severe thunderstorms up and down the state. And you can see here recently on our Deer Valley camera, a pretty strong storm moving through the Jordanelle area on the backside of the Wasatch, dumping a quick hit of rainfall, some lightning, gusty winds as well. But we've got a lot of cloud cover here associated with multiple different storms that have popped up here during the afternoon hours thanks to the heating of the day. We're starting to lose that heat. We did get to 98 today, believe it or not, in Salt Lake, but we still will have the opportunities to see more of a general threat of scattered thunderstorms, and some of them will become severe like we have seen. We've had 7, 8, 9 severe thunderstorms out there. We still have a couple here across northern Utah on Storm Tracker radar, but you can see all the different activity here all the way up the I-15 corridor, a little bit on the eastern side of the state, but things have a little bit right now kind of dissipated here on this side, southeastern corner of the state, around Lake Powell or just to the west of that. Bear Lake's been very, very active today, but you can see right now we still have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, mainly in Box Elder County, but a little bit in the far northern end of Tooele County right now. Let's get a little bit lower into the state, though, and around places like Kanab, the south central mountains. Antimony has a pretty strong storm just to the west of you and to the east of Beaver, around Eagle Point. South of Escalante, we're seeing strong storms producing some brief heavy rain. Also, possible small hail, and there is a potential for flash flooding in any of these areas of southern Utah. Blanding's got a storm right on top of you as well across southeastern Utah to the west of Monticello. The Abajos have got a storm system over you. Farther north, we're looking at Delta, seeing some scattered storms in the area. Pace and Provo, Pleasant Grove have had some pretty strong storms move through this area over the last couple of hours. Nothing became severe, but we've had some pretty gusty winds, 50-mile-per-hour gusts at times, but it's been very, very active on the Wasatch back here around Heber City, Park City. Look at Morgan, just to the east of Morgan, a very strong storm moving through this area as it heads north. And most of these storms are heading north in a 45 to 50-mile-per-hour pace. So these are moving very, very quickly, but they are causing some damage with wind. There's your severe thunderstorm warning here out in the middle of nowhere's the West Deserts, but it did move through the I-80 corridor and then into far northern Utah. Here you can see Park Valley, Snowville. You're under that severe thunderstorm warning here for a little bit longer, and we have had some storms moving into Idaho. And then there's this storm system that moved through a pretty strong one, and at times a severe storm moving through just to the east and right on top of the Bear Lake area. So we've been very, very active out there today. We also have wind advisories here for the remainder of the evening through 9 p.m. in this tan-shaded area, mainly all of the West Deserts. Up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts are possible, and up to 60 for that high wind warning area. This now does include the Elko area. That has since been expanded into the area here in the last couple of hours. And look at the winds right now, just blowing in from the south and southwest. 39 right now is the sustained speed in Ely, 30 Wendover, 39 in Salt Lake. And so we are continuing to see the winds very, very strong. Even the gusts are really, really strong places like Ely and Elko, which is why they upped that to a high wind warning for the Elko area. Now we are 78, but we got to 98 degrees. Now that's a new record for the day in Salt Lake. 81 in Cedar, 97 in St. George, 80 in Vernal. And I mentioned that 98 is a record. That's from 97 in 2003. Now we also do have some red flag warnings throughout much of Nevada into portions of the West Deserts down into St. George, over to Lake Powell, and up into the Castle Country area and around Moab through tomorrow, because we're going to continue to have hot, dry conditions and very, very gusty winds. So Futurecast shows most of what we're going to see out there now is starting to dissipate as we're losing the heating of the day. We might still see it, though, across eastern Utah. We have a cold front sliding through tomorrow morning. That will continue to keep the winds very, very strong across eastern and southern Utah. We'll see a little bit less across the north, and we'll see mainly partly cloudy skies. And then really just stays dry, but unfortunately windy here moving forward through the Monday and Tuesday time frame. But we will have the possibility of more isolated chances of thunderstorms here across eastern Utah and southeastern Utah tomorrow. Because of that front, we'll go 87, so 10 degrees cooler here in Salt Lake. But for overall St. George, we're going to cool off a bit after what we have the last couple of days, and really our best chance is going to be on Friday for some scattered storms for the Wasatch Front. We're going to be very dry for the next several days, windy, and we're going to stay mainly in the 80s, Nick, overall isolated to scattered storms in the end of the week.
Adam Carroll, thank you so much for that brief respite from what has been an incredibly tough day. Now we're joining Jason Wynn live in Salt Lake. Jason, what are you seeing?
Hey, we're giving you live pictures right now. There was a man that was just brought out of the crowd. It appeared that he was in distress. People were screaming for a medic for this man. And then once law enforcement went down there, then the man got up and walked away. But right now what you're seeing as my photographer zoomed in here is just that reaction to that initial call for a medic, but it appears that that guy got up, he walked away. These officers right now are now reforming their line, and as my photographer starts to pan to his right and go around some of this here, you can start to see this is the police line that has been made in front of that burning vehicle. Law enforcement allowed us behind this police line so that we can document this right now. But Nick, what I can tell you is that from what I've seen one sergeant that needed medical attention that was pulled out from the line, and I've also seen a person that was injured and brought down to that area right before you took our camera. So what I can tell you is that this is still pretty volatile right now, at least, but most people are trying to keep cool right now, Nick.
So you're telling us a police sergeant has been injured and you've seen another person being taken away. This sad scene continues tonight. We know that according to our governor, he said we're better than that, and that it breaks my heart, Mike Brown said, chief of police, what's happening on the streets of Salt Lake. This is the second car we've seen burning on our streets today as these violent protests continue to ebb and flow on the streets of Salt Lake. It's why the governor is calling out the National Guard. We don't know how long they will be here, but we do know there's a curfew tonight, and you see the flames erupt again. You heard screams there in the crowd. You kind of wonder how close folks are to that crowd. But right now, as we look at these images that are just hard to look away from, we're going to take ABC4's Nicole Newman not too far away. Nicole, what are you seeing from your angle?
Well, Nick, what we're seeing from our angle, as it was mentioned, yes, this is the second car that has been burning. We've been talking to people here on the ground just to kind of get an idea and a sense of what led up to this. Joining me now is a protester, John Hernandez. And John, I want to ask you, what did you see?
Yeah, so I don't know, a lot of people started running over here and I went to see what it was. There was this old white guy who got out of his car and started screaming at protesters, saying all lives matter. He pulled out a hunting bow, like a bow and arrow, and started pointing it at the crowd, and everyone kind of got scared. One guy tried to rush after him to stop him, and he tripped. And as he was on the floor, the guy pointed the bow and arrow at his face, and then everyone started like rushing him and just hitting him and beating him. The cops grabbed him away, and his car was still there, so then everyone just started jumping on his car. They started jumping on his car, smashing it, hitting it, just smashing it, hitting it with a hind, and they tipped the car over, lit it on fire, and that's that smoke right there. So,
well, let me ask you, when they lit it on fire, what did they use?
I saw a guy with a lighter, just because all the windows were broken. So a guy was reaching in and lighting the seat cushions on fire just with his lighter, and it eventually all came up in flames.
Now, let me ask you this. When you see this unfolding, what are your thoughts?
It's pretty crazy, but we've been dealing with this for so many years and nothing is changing. I feel like...
Okay, crowd is starting to move. We're going to toss things over to Jason.
Hey guys, we're live right here. You can see that there's one person. There's a lot of things coming towards us right now, but there's one person on the ground. They're starting to arrest folks. Here's one man. I'm going to try to talk to him. Sir, why are you here? Why are you here, sir? No cuss words. Why are you here, sir? Why are you here? All right, sir. Well, that guy doesn't want to talk. He's going to talk to officers. You can see the line right behind us here. law enforcement is trying to get back together here right now, Nick, but they had a lot of things thrown at them. We have one person that's been detained. Here comes a couple of baseball bats launched at police officers. This is the view from our point of view. You can see a lot of angry people throwing things. Rocks are being thrown, baseball bats have been thrown, tire irons have been thrown, all at law enforcement. Nick, you know, we're in a safe distance in a safe area right now, but what I can tell you is that law enforcement has moved up a little bit. They are trying to get this area under control right now, and you can see they're just bringing back all of these projectiles that have been thrown at them, have been used against law enforcement. So you can see right now they're trying to bring that stuff back. In front of law enforcement is a group of people that have their hands up. So they're right there. Over to our right, as my photographer John Perry starts to move over to the right, you can see how far this line goes all the way over to the Planet Fitness building here off of 200 East over there. There's another helicopter that's in the sky, but my photographer, we're gonna keep it down here on the ground. You can see all the law enforcement here ready to move in. Rocks are being thrown. I'm gonna move my photographer just so he can keep this in front of him here, but you can see all of this, Nick. This is, there's a lot of people here. There's a large crowd right now. Again, we've seen one person detained. We've seen a sergeant need medical attention. We've seen another man that needed medical attention, Nick. Now these people are screaming, "Don't shoot."
Can't be overstated. Nick. There is a burning car behind you. We just saw a man get arrested. We saw bats thrown at the air at you, and with complete empathy to everyone out there who is absolutely devastated by the horrific video about George Floyd. You have to think it's got to be tough to be a police officer right now as well. For those who are standing there, the police chief said they stood back to avoid escalating the situation, but the situation's escalated. It's just hard to make sense of all this.
Well, I mean, there's really, the only way that we can make sense of this right now is trying to understand why people are so angry right now, Nick. And one of the things that we know is they just want to be treated fairly. And that's what most of these people have been arguing about with this law enforcement group. But you can see right now that there's a lot of people that have their hands up right now. Nicole Newman, she, Nick, is on the other side of this that can provide a whole different perspective from what we are seeing here from the inside the law enforcement line. So I'm going to send this over to my colleague, Nicole.
Hi, Jason. Well, as you guys saw while we were on air doing our live interview, the crowd started to shift and people started running our way. We don't want to show you this because we don't know exactly what's happening here behind us, but there is a man that is on the ground. He came over here. He came over here. He was brought over here by multiple people after there was some sort of explosion. We're hearing reports that potentially people may be getting shot with rubber bullets. We can't confirm that, but right now we do know that this man was brought over here, and again, we don't want to show you that, but he was brought over here, and there are several people here right now that are tending to him to try to make sure that he is okay. Again, even as the crowd has shifted, you guys can see more people, even still, moving in on this area where this vehicle has been burning. And if you guys were listening, just about 5 minutes or so ago, when we were speaking to a protester, Don Hernandez, he was telling us that people became angry. Again, this is the second car that has been turned over. It appears that it was some sort of potentially like an SUV. It was a Mitsubishi, black Mitsubishi. And what happened was there was a guy that was threatening other people with a crossbow. And we did actually see the guy who initially, allegedly, got shot with this crossbow. He came to show us as proof. And this is what led up to, allegedly, this vehicle being turned over and then potentially and eventually being set on fire. Nick?
Nicole, if what that witness told you is true, it's been a wild day on the streets of Salt Lake. We can tell you more about the curfew announced tonight, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Monday. That curfew, 8 p.m. tonight 6 a.m. Monday. You know, Erin Mendenhall, the Salt Lake City mayor, saying what's happening today does nothing to right past wrongs. And she urged folks of Salt Lake, stop destroying our city. So again, we have on your screen here the details of this curfew. It begins at 8 o'clock tonight, and it's all of Salt Lake City. It goes all the way until 6 a.m. Monday morning. We know meantime the governor has deployed the National Guard. ABC4's Jason Wynn with the latest. Jason, what are we seeing now?
Hey Nick, the West Valley Police was the law enforcement agency that was interviewing that man that they had detained. They had since let him go right now and put him back on the other side of this police line. So no one has been arrested yet that we know of, but they did take his information, they did talk to him, and they did release him. What I can show you is as I walk over here to my left, more law enforcement officers are starting to show up here on the corner of 400 South and 200 East. As my photographer starts to pan over, you can see the police line. It has completely taken over the intersection here at 400 South and 200 East. And as he continues to pan over to his left, you can see this big line. We're starting to see the anarchist flags start to show up here in downtown Salt Lake City. You can hear vehicles just burning rubber. There doesn't appear to be anyone in front of those vehicles, but as we continue to pan left, that vehicle is still on fire right now, Nick. There's been several explosions from that vehicle, but that vehicle, it just continues to burn right now, and you can see a lot of folks right now are just holding their hands up in front of law enforcement, Nick.
And Jason, it's really hard to know who is from our area and who isn't. There was a question asked at that Zoom news conference just a short while ago. We know in Minnesota, state officials there have said they know for a fact, based on arrest, that people are coming in from out of state to protest. It's obviously unclear who everybody is here. There's folks who have a message, who have told you and Nicole today that they feel like that message is being hurt by the destruction that we're seeing behind us. Jason, any sense of where this is going, where this is headed, whether folks are ready to wrap it up or stay out there tonight?
You know, Nick, I think the crowd is getting larger, at least from our vantage point. Most of the crowd has taken over this entire area in front of Salt Lake City. I would imagine that there's a good 300 to 400 people over there. And the crowd is back to 500 South. So there's a lot of folks here right now. The weather doesn't seem to be an issue for folks. Now we have the Department of Public Safety now is flying a helicopter over us right now. As we've mentioned, there is more law enforcement that has showed up here in downtown Salt Lake City. You know, there's two law enforcement helicopters that are flying above us right now. So they're trying to gauge exactly what is happening downtown. We've also had a drone that we believe is from Salt Lake City to watch all of this. You can hear people, this one man just yelling at somebody, saying somebody shot him. So obviously he is okay, but he is moving around yelling at law enforcement right now, and that's just the anger that we've seen all day long, Nick.
Well, we've seen anger, we've seen pain, we've seen violence. The police chief saying it breaks my heart what's happening on the streets, and he's pleading for the folks of Salt Lake City, anybody on the streets, to leave, because there is a curfew at 8 o'clock tonight. We know the National Guard will be deployed. Jason, I don't know if you can hear me. Have you seen anything resembling the National Guard so far? You've mentioned, and I think we heard from Chief Brown of Salt Lake City Police, that every police department in the valley is converging on Salt Lake to help right now.
No, we have not seen the National Guard as of yet. I mean, we have seen other SWAT agencies from the area come up. Sorry, I'm going to put my mask back on because it's getting quite smoky here. But we've seen several different law enforcement agencies show up. We have not seen the National Guard. We've seen paramedics from Davis County. So, I mean, there's obviously anybody that's in the valley that's law enforcement is coming down here to Salt Lake City. At least it appears like it right now. And they're being met by this group of people that are right behind me in front of this burning car right here. And you can see that this crowd just goes back all the way past 500 South here. and there's more people that are in vehicles right next to this. Now come over here, look, there's just right here, there's an officer that has milk all over him right here. Somebody threw him, they're taking him back. It looks like he's gonna come right back here by this Salt Lake City police car right here. And that's where people have been taken that needed medical attention. You can see here's another team moving in right now. As that officer goes in to get attention, there's another team of people that are coming in to sit there and make sure that this line is secure. Now my colleague Nicole, she's on the other side of this with a different perspective. Nicole?
Hey guys, we are here and we are talking to people who have been sitting in traffic. Joining me right now is Danny Fernandez. And Danny, I want to ask you, how long you been sitting here?
I'm sitting here for like 3 hours now.
I'd like to. It doesn't look like you guys are going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
It doesn't. We're probably stuck here till, I don't know, 7, 8.
Now we do see this police wall that is formed right here that's keeping you guys from being able to proceed forward. When you see this and you see the events that are unfolding right here, you guys have been watching this for several hours from your car. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've never seen anything like this before. It's crazy, really crazy.
What have you witnessed sitting in your car?
I witnessed the car, they smashed it and they blew it up. They blew it up. I've seen people getting hit with rubber bullets, everybody running, fireworks, just a lot of crazy stuff.
Did you ever think you'd be seeing something like this unfold downtown in the streets of Salt Lake City?
I did not. I would only picture this in movies.
It does. Being out here, it does really look like something that you see unfolding. So you guys can't even turn around, can you?
We can't, no. We can't do a U-turn. We can't go. We were working, actually. Now we're late to our store. We had to go deliver.
But when you do see all of this, I don't know if it's the right question to ask you. Do you think it's worth it? Or with everything that's unfolding, do you think people are accomplishing what you think they're setting out to do?
I think this should be handled a different way, not with violence and blowing up cars and all of this going on.
What do you say to the people that are out here that feel that maybe this might be the only way that they can get their voices heard?
It's really not the right way to handle stuff. I feel like they're just doing much worse than what actually happened with all of this going on.
And I do want to ask you lastly, where's your guys' gas at? Are you gonna have enough? Like
it's diesel, so it'll last us a while.
Okay. Danny, we respect your time. Thank you. We appreciate it. We want to send things back to you, Nick.
Nicole, thank you. It's always really insightful to hear what folks are thinking who are watching it firsthand. So thanks to him, and we're watching the police line on our screen as well, and we're seeing projectiles continue to be thrown. Just an unprecedented scene in downtown Salt Lake. This is the scene folks are surrounding that second vehicle being burned. The narrative that a witness told Nicole Newman is a guy came out, said all lives matter. There was a confrontation. According to this witness, the man in the car then pulled a crossbow, apparently may have aimed it at somebody. He was attacked, and then apparently someone on scene lit the car on fire. And that was what a witness told ABC4's Nicole Newman. Gives you a sense of the chaos on the streets of Salt Lake City at this hour. Jason Wynn continuing our coverage live for hours now. Jason, give us a live look.
Hey Nick, here, this is some of the projectile that I'm finding here. You can see it right now. This is some of the crowd deterrent that officers had to use to try to move this crowd back when they felt that the crowd was getting violent. Right behind me here, they're starting to reinforce this line. We do know that there is an officer that is being treated medically right now. I'm gonna have my photographer just pan just to his right so you can see this police line over here. We have other media that's back here with us. They're trying to stay safe, but this is the officer right now that is being checked over. He was pulled off of that line. He had a ton of things thrown at him. He had milk thrown on him. So they're just making sure right now that he is not injured, that he is okay. And from everything that we've seen, it appears that he is okay. Now, as my photographer starts to come back with me now, you can see that, there are a ton of different different teams that are down here, but this is the line at the intersection in front of the city library in downtown where police are holding right now. And again, like we've been saying all day long, they have the choice to move this line forward if they want to. But for the most part, this crowd, every once in a while, it will get a little bit aggressive. But for the most part, this is what we're seeing, this calm protest. And usually there's 3 or 4 people that get this crowd calm again every time it starts to ignite. But there is a couple of people that have been trying to instigate some type of fight with law enforcement, and from what we can tell, law enforcement is not giving in. So right now, I'm going to toss it right back into the station to Rosie.